Well, South Carolina's showdown is set as the 7 Democrats take to the stage tonight, all with the hopes of stopping Bernie Sanders. But it may be too little too late, as Sanders has clearly now got all the momentum. This after a surge in reported support among black voters. He could even take South Carolina. The socialist is facing unprecedented assault from his Democratic rivals. But will everyone have to join the assault tonight? And will Bernie's last words be, "E to Elizabeth"? To sort it all out, I want to bring in Fox News contributor Leslie Marshall, IWF senior policy analyst Inez Stepman, and Bernie Sanders campaign surrogate Amir Zar. Let me start with you, Leslie. I'm thinking everyone's got to gang up on Bernie Sanders, including Elizabeth Warren, and they got to go at him hard, and they got to go at him all night if he's going to be derailed. Is that what you see?
Absolutely. I mean, and you have to do that. If you want to be king or queen of the mountain, you have to push off whoever is in the #1 place. I mean, that's not in politics. That's in any game where you want to win. Elizabeth Warren's going to also go after Bloomberg, though, because not only did she get after him before for disparaging remarks about women, but the latest one was about her, that she was wacky. So I'm sure.
Well,
that
he
she's
also apparently
some
comments have been unearthed that weren't positive with Obama either. So I mean, you know, these things keep coming out. Interesting timing, of course, when they keep coming out. So you're right. But let me ask Amir, because you know, it really is interesting that Bernie Sanders has really been his own man. He's bought into this philosophy for several decades. So the authentic part, everyone believes, is there. But he doesn't back down, right? In fact, there was no backing down after he praised Fidel Castro on 60 Minutes. He did it again last night on the CNN town hall. I want the audience to see what I'm talking about here. A lot of Democrats, Amir, said that just gives the Republicans Florida and other states.
Well, you left out more of that, where he said later
well, we could have played the whole thing, but then I couldn't interview you.
Where he denounces all parts of authoritarianism, and he denounced Castro's authoritarianism. And look, we have a candidate here in Bernie Sanders who has consistently denounced authoritarians, unlike the president, who cozies up to Putin and Kim Jong-un and calls them his great friends. Bernie has a certain brand, yes, of democratic socialism that he believes in, that we should fight for the weakest among us, that we're all in this together, not me, us. But he is against every form of authoritarianism, like the Saudi regime that the president cozies up to as well. Right. So Bernie called them murderous thugs the other day. So authoritarianism is bad and wrong, and Bernie has been clear about that for decades. So trying to say that he praised Castro, like you said, is a little bit too simplistic.
Well, Inez, you know, here's the thing, though, and it's not me really that they have to worry about. It's the Democrats that I saw on MSNBC and CNN who are going crazy, apoplectic about this. But I see Bernie Sanders as being, to a degree, an extension of President Obama. President Obama talked about forgiving college debt. President Obama went to Cuba. He removed the travel restrictions. He did the wave with one of the Castro brothers. So I'm not sure why the Democrats are so upset with Bernie when he seems to be the growth of what they planted a long time ago.
Look, Bernie says the quiet part out loud, right? But I don't think that it's actually an accurate characterization to say, oh, he likes certain aspects of these systems and he disagrees with other aspects of these systems. That kind of nuanced analysis is not what we have when we talk about other murderous thugs and dictators. We don't talk about, for example, you know, any of the positive things, right, that happened under Hitler. Not that I'm saying that there were, but that's not how we talk about people who are murderous authoritarian thugs. So I think this is also a long-term pattern with Bernie Sanders. This is decade after decade. It's not just Fidel Castro. He has never found much negative to say about, you know, Ortega. He's never found much negative to say about Chavez. He's not had much negative to say about the USSR when that system was still up and running and still throwing dissidents in jail. So I just don't think that it's particularly helpful to characterize this as a throwaway remark or to look at the nuance here.
Leslie, is it helpful, though, to keep dissing the voter? In other words, the Democrat establishment and the folks who represent them in the media essentially are really, to me, dissing Democrats who've gone to these first 3 states and have given Bernie Sanders the plurality, the majority of the votes so far, and seem to like him more and more in the polls. I mean, is this a dangerous act on the part of the Democratic establishment, which ironically proves Bernie's point in the first place?
No. I think the Democrats, now I'm a centrist, I'm a moderate, and I've said it before. I got trashed earlier today on Fox News Channel because I went after Senator Sanders for what he said about Cuba, but then I admitted I would vote for him if he were the nominee. It's just like you can disagree with something a candidate says very strongly, but like other areas. You asked me about the party. There are people fighting, whether they're liberal and progressive or whether they're moderate centrist like myself, for the soul of the party. But to this point specifically, Pete Buttigieg said it very well. We are not just here to fight for the nomination for a Democrat. We are here to fight for what the majority of Democrats, whether they're to the left or the center or to the right of center within the Democratic Party, which is to make Trump a one-term president. You don't say things about Fidel Castro and communism that are good when you call yourself a democratic socialist, which some voters are saying is just a socialist, is ergo just a communist. That hurts the party, that hurts the brand, and that hurts us with voters, especially voters who may not like Trump, or swing state voters, independent voters in states like Florida in a general election come November 2020.
I'm sorry, did we have any time? Amir, let me just bring you back in on that. Again, yeah. I see what I saw with the elites in the Republican Party. When Trump was winning these states after states, they dissed the voters. And I think it was a gargantuan mistake. And, you know, listen, I would think that the party, these folks are voting for the ideology, in this case, perhaps of a Bernie Sanders. So what does Sanders do to get these other candidates to understand that maybe this is a revolution that his party wants? The grassroots of the Democratic Party want this.
Well, I think what Leslie and other people in the Democratic Party need to understand, that this is the new heart and soul of the Democratic Party. This is a new movement that is changing the face of the Democratic Party for better. What we saw in Nevada was young people of color coming out in huge numbers. What we saw in Iowa was this campaign reaching out to immigrant communities and putting caucus site in mosques for the first time. What we see in this campaign is a campaign about love and compassion that's bringing everyone together, and it's working. And we're seeing the message sort of resonating throughout. So Bernie's going to do very well in South Carolina. You're going to see that message on, and he's going to kill it on Super Tuesday because of this message of not me, us, and we're all in it together. That's the new face of the Democratic Party, and I think everybody should get used to it.
I got 30 seconds. Want to give you the last word. It's your generation that seems to be buying this.
Sure. So I disagree that it's for the
I'm
good,
not that
but
old.
I do
It's my
think
generation too.
I do think I disagree that it's for the good, but I do think this is much closer to the heart and soul of the Democratic Party, and I think that the Democratic Party establishment is going to make a lot of the same mistakes that the GOP establishment did if they reject the fact that Bernie Sanders is the presumptive nominee. Now, anything could happen, but if they put their heads in the sand the same way that the GOP establishment did and push back against their own voters in the same way, with the same contempt, I absolutely think that they will find themselves on the losing side of the battle within their own party.
Well, something to watch for sure. Leslie, Inez, Amir, thank you both, all three, very much appreciated.